economic inequality and so on. But there's not much talk about the role that sex plays. I mean, from the sort of evolutionary perspective, sex has been around since before we were human. Sex is still going to be around long after humans have gone extinct. Like, sex is universal. It's what drives every single species. But I'm just surprised at how often we overlook it as an incentive for behavior and how fast things are changing in the realm of sex. I just saw this statistic from the Washington Post showing that from 2008 to 2018, the amount of sexlessness among men under the age of 30 has doubled. So in 2008, 15% of men under age 30 reported not having sex in the past year. And by 2018, it had doubled to about 30%. And for women, it increased slightly. It was something like 10% in 2008 to like 15% in 2018. So there was an increase, a slight increase. But for men, it has doubled to the point where about 1 in 3 young men are reporting that they haven't had sex in the past year, which is a very new thing.
Despite the mating apps.
Right. Despite the apps, despite even more support supposedly for sexual freedom and for polyamory and novel relationship arrangements and the further sort of devaluing of the importance of sex, more people are having less of it, men and women, but especially young men.
Yeah, well, my understanding is that's damn near epidemic in Japan.
Okay.
So
what's happening?
An epidemic here.
A tremendous number of young men in Japan are falling into that category. And in fact, this society has become increasingly sexless, even among young people. I mean, that's reflected to some degree in the declining birth rate. But now it's been a long time since I looked at the statistics, but that's my understanding. And so if it happened there, it's not surprising that it, might happen here. And that might be a consequence too of this emergent polygamy that we were describing, is that all the...
No, Jordan, it is happening here. In fact, the stats that Rob's quoting are exactly the same stats that I quoted I think it was last 2 weeks ago. Last Wednesday, actually a week ago. When I was talking about male virginity, and I was using those stats, and there's a whole lot more that go along with that. I don't want to dig those out. Go back to that show and you can have a look at those, but it's here and it's been here. We've understood this since, they did the research from 2008 to 2018. So I've known about this stuff for almost 2.5 years at the very least. We know this. In fact, it was big headlines in the Black Pill Doomer communities. Oh, look, we're doomed. But what these guys don't, what Jordan really doesn't, he'll dance around here. And you can watch the rest. I hate to do this to you, but you can watch the rest of the video and check that out. But one of the things that Jordan just simply doesn't get is that pretty much puts the last nail in the coffin of his presumptions about hypergamy, his presumptions about why we're in the state that we're in right now. He just simply doesn't have the access. Yeah, whether he has the interest or whatever, I just don't think he is as in touch with the sexual marketplace and understanding, certainly what Rob's talking about. But again, he is, and again, not to run him up the flagpole, but I do understand his history with his wife. I do understand that, he met her when he was like 7 years old, got one-itis for her back then, I watched the interview with Michaela and his wife and him, and I get the impression that he's very blue pill in that sense. And I said so as far back as 2018. And people ran me up the flagpole. They said, "Oh, Rollo, he's getting guys to go back to church. Isn't that something good?" I don't know, maybe, but I can tell you right now that he's not red pill. And everybody wanted to tell me how red pill he was, and they were filling stadiums and arenas all over the world with him and Dave Rubin going, place to place and selling a 12-step book. We're literally a 12-step book. If he's your thing, again, I'm not shitting on the guy. I'm just saying we have to approach this from a more practical understanding of how he comes to the sort of assessments that he does. Clearly, he's not aware of the data that Rob is presenting to him. And clearly, he is not aware of the impact or the significance or the correlation that information, that data, those data sets have to what he's asserted since the beginning of the video. So what that says to me is when we have a rise in virgin men between the ages of 18 and 29 years old, while women are unaffected, it seems to me that women are still doing the majority of the sexual selection, whether that's on Tinder or that's just meeting the guy at Bible study. Women are the ones that are doing the selection, and they're the ones that are deciding who gets laid and who doesn't, who goes home with his hand. And we're at the point right now where we're trying to make legislation so that women will never have to deal with another beta male again. They will never have to deal with a guy who should know better than to stay in his lane. We're going to criminalize making an approach. Oh, he made me feel uncomfortable. Arrest him. Okay, off to jail you go. Me too him. Okay, off to jail you go. Oh, he looked at me a beat longer than I wanted him to. Okay, fire him from work. Take his business away from him, take his livelihood away from him just for whatever it is. And so what he's correct about one thing, they do learn this. They learn caution. It's not fear, it's caution. It's pragmatic caution when it comes to, workplace arrangements or whatever else you want to call it. I get it, guys. I understand why you are the way you are, but here it is. Black and white, we see a guy who's, an old school, old order mentality when it comes to the sexual marketplace that has no frame of reference about the new order. You have to stay on top of your game. You have to keep your finger on the pulse. And I just simply don't think that he has his finger on the pulse. So, and then last but not least, when we look at those stats, and I'll just repeat this one more time because I mentioned this on the last Wednesday's show, is that women are the ones that are making the decisions right now. They're the ones who are in control of the breeding. They're in control of the reproduction. From you even approaching, from the micro, right? From you even having the notion to approach that girl, because you know that if you do and you screw it up, if you're awkward, socially awkward in any way, it could be interpreted as creepy. It could be interpreted as your sexual assault. It can be interpreted that way. And guys understand that. I don't think it is as expressed as most guys want to make it out to be, but still, I do understand that, let's say, caution, that hesitation. From that point, all the way to, I'm going to abort your kid. That's what women are in control of. From you even considering approaching that girl or even wanting to learn game or whatever, or becoming red pill aware, from that to approaching that girl, to taking her out, to doing whatever it is, to being the guy that she wants to bang, to being that guy that's, who's not below average, but at least is somebody she consider having sex with, to the actual having sex, to what comes after the sex, to what comes after building a relationship after that, to what comes after having kids or getting pregnant or not getting pregnant. Or if she does get pregnant and you're not the one, or she doesn't want to be having babies with you, she can abort that. Every step of that way, everything from the just considering having sex with that girl or to approach her in a romantic, intimate way, to all the way to we're breaking up, I'm ghosting you, to I'm going to abort your kid, to I'm going to have your kid and you're going to pay for it, right? All those decisions from point A to point B, those are all decided by women. But yet we still want to say that it's men's imperative, that men, the onus is on you. And we can see the data. We have it right here from point A to point B, from approach the girl to let's get married, from approach the girl to it's your baby, from approach the girl to I'm going to abort your kid. That's where we're at. And I just don't think that people get that, especially not with the people who should be in the know, who should be these thought leaders. People want to make me out to be a thought leader. People want me to be the godfather of the manosphere. I never call myself that, but thank you. But they're not listening to me. They're really not. I've got a good channel. Thank you very much for my 31,000 subs. Thank you very much for that. But by comparison, I'm not even in the same league as a guy like Jordan Peterson. I'm not even in the same league as like Steve Stewart Williams or even Rob Henderson for that matter. People he's got a DR in front of his name. So therefore he's got to be taken more seriously than the schmuck on the internet who talks about hypergamy all the time. I'm only one guy. Other people have to understand this. Other people have to get this message. And the only way you can, at least I believe the only way you can get this message is from the bottom up. Each one tell one.